Is Israel's Air Force really the best in the world? Or is that just a myth powered by headlines and secrecy? From lightning, fast strikes to unmatched pilot training and battlefield-tested technology, today we break down the facts, the legends, and the controversies behind one of the most talked about air forces on Earth. Stay with us because the answer is far more complex and far more fascinating than you might think. We're asking a question that sparks debate among military analysts, aviation experts, and defense watchers worldwide. Does Israel really have the world's top air force? This isn't a simple yes or no discussion. The idea of the best depends on context. Numbers, technology, experience, geography, doctrine, and real combat performance. Israel is a small country with limited strategic depth, surrounded historically by hostile neighbors. That reality forced it to build an air force that prioritizes speed, precision, intelligence, and survival from day one. Unlike many nations that prepare mainly for hypothetical conflicts, Israel's air force has been shaped by constant real-world threats. In this section, we set the tone naturally and honestly. The Israeli Air Force, often called the IIAF, operates under pressure few others face. Its pilots must be ready to launch within minutes, fly complex missions in crowded airspace, and return safely while avoiding advanced air defenses. This constant readiness has created a culture where innovation isn't optional. It's survival. However, calling it the world's top air force requires comparison with giants like the United States, China, or Russia, each with massive fleets and global reach. So instead of hype, we'll examine training quality, technology integration, combat experience, intelligence fusion, and operational results. By the end, you'll understand not just where Israel stands, but why its Air Force commands such intense respect worldwide. To understand the strength of Israel's Air Force, we must first look at its origins and the mindset behind it. The IAF was born in 1948 with almost no resources, improvised aircraft, volunteer pilots, and overwhelming odds. From the very beginning, survival depended on creativity rather than numbers. This shaped a doctrine focused on initiative, aggressive action, and rapid learning. Mistakes were analyzed brutally, lessons were applied immediately, and adaptation became institutional culture. Unlike air forces that rely on size, Israel relies on efficiency. Every aircraft, every pilot, and every mission must count. The IAF emphasizes preemptive capability, meaning it seeks to neutralize threats before they fully materialize. This mindset was famously demonstrated in historical operations where enemy air forces were neutralized in hours rather than weeks. Over decades, this approach matured into a highly refined system where intelligence, cyber capabilities, space assets, and air power work as a single organism. Another critical factor is decision-making speed. Israeli commanders are trained to act decisively under uncertainty. This allows the IAF to respond faster than many larger air forces burdened by bureaucracy. While other nations may take days to authorize missions, Israel often acts within hours or minutes. This section shows that the IAF's strength isn't just metal and engines. It's doctrine, mentality, and the willingness to evolve constantly in response to real threats. Pilot training is often cited as one of the strongest pillars of Israel's Air Force, and for good reason. Becoming an IAF pilot is one of the most demanding military selection processes in the world. The training pipeline is long, psychologically intense, and unforgiving. Candidates are tested not only for flying skill, but also for leadership, stress tolerance, decision-making, and moral responsibility. Only a tiny fraction make it through. What makes Israeli pilot training unique is its emphasis on autonomy. Pilots are trained to think like commanders, not just operators. In combat, communication can fail, plans can collapse, and pilots may have seconds to decide. The IAF trains its aviators to adapt instantly, even if that means deviating from orders to achieve the mission's intent. This level of trust is rare and extremely powerful. Training doesn't end after graduation. Israeli pilots fly frequently, participate in complex multinational exercises, and constantly rehearse real-world scenarios. They study enemy air defenses, electronic warfare environments, and evolving missile threats. Debriefings are brutally honest. Rank doesn't protect anyone from criticism. This culture of accountability sharpens skills year after year. When people argue that Israel's Air Force punches above its weight, pilot quality is often the first reason mentioned. And it's not exaggeration. Technology is another major reason the Israeli Air Force is often ranked among the world's elite. Israel operates some of the most advanced aircraft available, including highly customized stealth fighters integrated with locally developed avionics, sensors, and weapons. These modifications allow Israel to tailor its aircraft specifically to regional threats rather than relying solely on off-the-shelf solutions. What truly sets the IAF apart is systems integration. Aircraft are only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Real-time intelligence from satellites, drones, ground sensors, and cyber units flows directly into cockpits and command centers. Pilots don't just fly. They receive live intelligence updates, target confirmations, and threat warnings during missions. This creates an information advantage that can be decisive before a single missile is launched. Israel is also a global leader in electronic warfare and precision-guided munitions. The ability to jam, deceive, or blind enemy radar systems allows Israeli aircraft to operate in heavily defended environments. Precision weapons minimize collateral damage while maximizing mission effectiveness, an operational necessity in dense regions. In this section, it becomes clear that Israel's air power isn't about raw firepower alone. It's about smarter, faster, and more connected warfare. Combat experience is where theory meets reality, and this is one area where Israel's Air Force has an undeniable edge. Many air forces train extensively but rarely engage in real combat. The IAF, however, has operated continuously across decades in complex, high-risk environments. This experience shapes tactics, confidence, and institutional memory in ways simulations never can. Israeli pilots are accustomed to flying missions with real consequences, where mistakes cost lives and strategic balance can shift overnight. This creates a level of operational maturity that is difficult to replicate. The IAF has conducted long-range strikes, precision operations, air defense missions, and intelligence-driven sorties under intense political and military pressure. Each operation feeds back into training and doctrine, creating a cycle of constant improvement. Another key factor is adaptability. Threats evolve rapidly in the Middle East, from advanced surface to air systems to drones and cruise missiles. The IAF adjusts tactics in near real time, often faster than adversaries can respond. This combat-tested flexibility is one of the strongest arguments for Israel's Air Force being among the world's best, not just on paper but in practice. Geography plays a surprisingly important role in shaping Israel's air power. Israel's small size means there is almost no margin for error. Air bases are close to borders, and reaction time is critical. This reality forced the IAF to design doctrines focused on rapid launch, quick turnaround, and dispersed operations. Aircraft must be ready to take off at a moment's notice, day or night. This constraint became an advantage. The need for speed and efficiency led to some of the fastest sortie generation rates in the world. Ground crews train to refuel, rearm, and relaunch aircraft in record time. Command structures are streamlined to reduce delays. In contrast, larger countries with vast territories often operate with slower operational tempos simply because they can afford to. Israel's air defense network is also tightly integrated with its air force, creating a layered shield against rockets, missiles, and aircraft. This defensive-offensive balance allows the IAF to focus on strategic missions while maintaining homeland protection. Geography forced innovation, and innovation became strength. This section highlights how limitations, when approached creatively, can produce elite capabilities. So how does Israel compare to global giants like the United States? The U.S. Air Force is unquestionably the most powerful in terms of size, budget, global reach, and logistical capacity. No other nation comes close. However, power and quality are not the same thing. Israel cannot project force globally, but within its region, its effectiveness is extraordinary. When analysts say Israel may have the best air force, they often mean efficiency per aircraft or per pilot. Israeli squadrons achieve results that would require far larger forces elsewhere. Mission success rates, intelligence, driven targeting, and operational creativity are areas where Israel often outperforms much larger militaries. That said, it's important to stay balanced. Israel relies heavily on partnerships, especially for strategic depth and advanced platforms. It doesn't operate alone in a vacuum, but within its mission scope, regional dominance, deterrence, rapid response, the IIAF consistently demonstrates world-class performance. This comparison shows that best depends on criteria, and by many qualitative measures, Israel ranks at the very top. Critics argue that Israel's air force benefits from favorable circumstances, short distances, high intelligence support, and a focus on specific adversaries rather than global competition. These points aren't wrong, but they don't diminish the achievement. Designing an air force perfectly optimized for its threat environment is itself a mark of excellence. Another criticism is secrecy. Much of what the IIAF does remains classified, making independent evaluation difficult. However, the consistency of results over decades suggests capability rather than luck. International exercises often reveal how highly Israeli pilots and planners are regarded by allies and competitors alike. There's also the moral and political debate surrounding air power use. Precision and restraint are emphasized publicly, but warfare always raises difficult questions. This section acknowledges that being the best doesn't exist in a moral vacuum. Effectiveness must be weighed alongside responsibility, accountability, and long-term consequences. A truly elite air force must balance power with judgment, and this remains an ongoing challenge for all modern militaries, Israel included. Looking toward the future, Israel's air force shows no signs of slowing down. Investments in artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, cyber warfare, and space-based intelligence are reshaping how air power will be used. The IIAF is positioning itself not just for today's battles, but for conflicts where data and decision speed matter more than sheer numbers. Unmanned systems are increasingly integrated with manned aircraft, creating cooperative combat teams. AI assists in target analysis and mission planning, reducing cognitive load on pilots. These developments enhance the strengths Israel already possesses: speed, precision, and adaptability. At the same time, adversaries are learning. Air defenses are improving, drones are proliferating, and the air domain is becoming more contested. The question isn't whether Israel is currently among the best. It's whether it can stay there. History suggests that constant innovation and honest self-assessment give the IIAF a strong chance. This section frames Israel's air force not as a finished product, but as an evolving system designed to stay ahead in an unpredictable future. So, does Israel really have the world's top air force? The most honest answer is this: Israel may not have the biggest or most globally powerful air force, but it is unquestionably one of the most effective, experienced, and adaptive air forces on the planet. Within its operational environment, it sets a benchmark others study closely. The IIAF's strength comes from a rare combination: elite pilot training, deep combat experience, cutting-edge technology, rapid decision-making, and a culture that embraces constant improvement. Few air forces integrate all these elements so seamlessly. Whether or not you label it. Number 1. Its influence on modern air warfare is undeniable. In the end, the Israeli Air Force proves that excellence isn't just about size or budget. It's about mindset, learning, and the relentless pursuit of advantage. That's why the debate continues and why the IAF remains at the center of it. If you found this deep dive insightful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next analysis. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Israel has the world's top air force, or does another nation deserve the title? Let's discuss.